All right, Veronica.
Yes.
Veronica, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I was born in Puerto Rico. My father was a pimp. My mother was his whore. He went to prison when I was 3, and my grandmother couldn't wait to get rid of me. My mother sold me to the Hells Angels. I would have still been a member by proxy if my grandmother came and got me.
At what age was that?
I was 3.
3 years old?
Yes.
What did the Hells Angels do with a 3-year-old?
Nothing. My grandmother came. She had a shotgun. She was like, "You let my baby go, or both of us will die today." And needless to say, they didn't do anything to me. They just didn't change my diaper. From then, I lived with my mother. We lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. And, from then on, she used to beat me so much. And when I was about 11, I became bigger. And I dog walked her up and down the street. I told her, "You will never put your hands on me again." So when I was 15, I got married. Got out of the frying pan, jumped straight into the fire, it seemed. So my mother signed the papers so I could get married. I was married for 20 years. He beat me for 18 of them. I have one child. Well, I had 2 identical twins. Rihanna killed herself like 5 years ago. And Rosemary still lives in Big Bear. She says she likes her uterus how it is, but I'm still a grandmother. I have a grand dog. His name is Spencer. She lives in Big Bear. And so we just traveled around, And I guess old habits are hard to die. I became a prostitute as well. Lived in New York, New Jersey, but, I sold my tail on 45th and 10th in New York. Called it the butt naked track. I wore thigh-high boots and a G-string and a leather coat. If you notice Law and Order, there's a picture of a white woman with blonde hair. That's me, because they filmed Belly of the Beast there. So I proceeded to that until 1993. Then I came to Los Angeles with my now dead husband. So as you can see, my right leg is 4 inches shorter than the other one. I was married for 20 years. He beat me for 18 of them. So he was out of town, so this was my time. I had to escape. But he came out early, and I was taking my jewelry and money out of my safe. And he dragged me by my hair up to the roof. He shot me 5 times with a sawed-off shotgun. He tried to throw me off the roof, but I grabbed him and the gun at the same time. The gun went off in his face. He died. I landed on top of him. That's the only thing that saved my life. So I went to prison for 13 years. I got out in 2014. I've never been back since.
Was that a murder charge?
Hmm?
Was that a murder charge?
Yes. The judge, Marsha Clark, she had just lost the OJ trial, so she was gunning for me. The judge in open court and told her, "Bitch, sit down. I will handle this myself." So I went into her chambers. She cried when she sentenced me, but to let her of the law, she had to. As I said, I had 13 years in prison. I got out in 2014. I've never looked back since. I'm one of the co-authors of the Battered Women's Syndrome Law. It is actually a mental health defense now. I belong to an organization called All of Us or None. We've gotten 28 women out of prison thus far. I'll never stop till every woman or man is out of prison for, killing their spouse, because in California there's no self-defense law unless you're a home or business owner. So I did 13 years in prison. It was rough, so to speak. You know, I'm bisexual, so I had a wife while I was there. And the cycle never stopped. She beat me as well. And like I said, I got out in 2014, I returned back. Susan Burton, she saved my life. She bought me my first ever car.
Who's Susan? Your lawyer?
No, it's she. This lady that, because when I got out, I had nowhere to go, so I could write and everything. And I found this in the back of a Bible. I found this address. It was her, Susan Burton, and I wrote to her. And someone picked me up from prison. She bought me my first ever car. She travels around the world now and writes books and everything. I've spoken in front of the Senate, brought the Congress, you know, trying to help the battered women, you know, change the laws I'm trying to stop.
Were drugs a part of this story?
Yes, they were. I mainlined for a while. I shot drugs, but then I smoked crack. Then I smoked meth. I used to ride motorcycles. Compton Deuces with an Avalon 121st. I had a knee replacement because this lady came out and hit me from nowhere. Totaled my bike. I love that bike. And like I said, I came here in 1993. My daughters were 8 when I went to prison. I came out when they were 21. But despite me, they both had scholarships. You know, their father was Samoan. They were 6'3" goddesses, curly hair, just wonderful. They played volleyball. One went to Ohio State, one went to Penn State. Rosemary lives in Big Bear. They'll be 30 this year. Rihanna killed herself 5 years ago. And Rosemary never forgave me for it. But there was nothing I could do because Rihanna was sad from birth. She drove her car off a bridge in Tennessee and she died. Killed herself. You know, I think it's a generational curse because my great-grandmother killed herself. My grandmother didn't. My mother killed herself. I didn't. My firstborn, Rosemary, didn't, but Rihanna didn't. So it's a generational curse, I think.
Every other.
Yes. Rosemary said she likes her uterus how it is, but I am a grandmother. I have a granddog. His name is Spencer. She lives in Big Bear. She'll be 30 this year. And so I've been out here, you know, I'm an accountant by trade. I lived in Aliso Viejo, Orange County. I had, you know, 2 cars, a condo I owned. But every time it's $18,000 because my insurance didn't cover the chemotherapy treatments. So I became homeless due to that for 5 years. And I've been in the hospital for 4 months. I got out. I was living in a tent. Normally I'm out hustling every day, you know, try to get some money to survive that day. But something told me that day, just be still. A van pulled up, said, you have 10 minutes to pack if you want a place to live. And that was 3 months ago. I stay at the Seward Hotel now. It's the 7th in Union. And I'm moving out to the Valley next month. A nice apartment, 1 bedroom. It has a pool, jacuzzi, you know, a park across the street for another puppy that I hope to get. Church. Laundromat, liquor store, restaurant, everything right there, one-stop shop. So
Are drugs still a part of your life?
occasionally, because pain management, if my pain is under control, I don't do street drugs. But when it's not, you know, I do anything to alleviate the pain. You know, because like I said, I had a knee replacement here. This leg is 4 inches shorter. I woke up, my foot was like this. But over time, this dude named Nikolai Wolfson, I still send him a Christmas card every year. You know, he fought the medical board because they wanted to amputate my leg, but he said he could save it. So I woke up, my foot was like this, so every time it did a fusion process. I have no hardware in this leg, but this one I had a knee replacement. And so now I'm just waiting to move in my apartment. This program I'm under, TLS, they pay for everything down to toilet paper. They'll pay my rent for 2 years, and I get Social Security. So I pay $400 a month after that.
Do you have any regrets in your life?
Yes, I do. I regret not being there for my children, because Rosemary went through a lot of the hell that I did growing up. I didn't know this till after she died. My mother used to beat her because she couldn't beat me. And Rihanna was just sad from birth. As I said, she killed herself. She drove herself off a bridge. I regret just not being there for them, But, when I killed their father, Rosemary never asked, but she knows. He never saw them beat me, but she knows. She's never asked, but I know deep down in her heart she knows. But I carried that weight, because I wanted to have a good memory of their father, because he loved them despite hitting me, beating me. But yeah, my regret is just not being the mother that I could have been to them. But like I said, Rosemary was sad Rihanna was sad from birth. She never talked about it. She just committed suicide,
What are you afraid of? What do you worry about most now?
I'm worried about dying alone, just being alone.
Do you have any friends?
2 that I've carried with me. For my sister from another mother, and her mama treats me like her own. That's all the family I have. My daughter lives in Big Bear, as I said.
If you had your life to live all over again, what would you have done differently?
What I would do differently, I would have just been a better daughter, a better mother, a better child, a queen that God, my higher power has designed me to be. That's my only regret, is just not being the person that He intended me to be.
What are you proudest of in your life?
I'm most proud of, like I said, being a part of the organization that's helping women get out of prison. Because once we defend ourselves, we stop being the victim and we become the perpetrator. So I'm proudest of that, just helping women get out, and I'll never stop till every woman or man is out of prison for that.
What was your lowest point? Being in prison?
My lowest point, no, it wasn't being in prison. It was, my lowest point was when I got out of prison, because I had nowhere to go, Susan Burton, as I said, she saved my life. That was the lowest point, just not knowing where to go, I found an address in the back of an old Bible, and I wrote, and someone came and picked me up from prison, and she bought me my first ever car.
What would you say is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is understanding the walks that people have walked, because I've been there. Because you can have book knowledge all day long and I'll never listen to you because you haven't walked any step in my shoes. So my greatest strength is just understanding what someone else is going through and having empathy for them and trying to help any way I can. Whether it's money, a place to stay, because people have given me a place to stay. I've always got kicked out because I try to help someone else. But that's how my heart is. If I can help someone, I will.
What was your favorite period of your life?
My favorite period was actually the year that I got out of prison. Because I got off parole early. And, I had a job and had a car, and I was able to, feel like part of myself again.
Veronica, let me ask you one last question. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
The most important lesson is to think of other people's struggle, because, you never know where people come from. A smile could turn someone's life around, So just being able to understand where they come from and never judge anyone. You know, as I said, this nun used to walk by my room every day, and there's pus coming out of my legs. My leg wouldn't heal. She told me, she said, Veronica, forgiveness is not a gift you give to them. It's a gift you give to yourself. Because once I finally totally forgave my husband, my legs started healing, and I was able to walk again. In 2002 medical journal, my surgery is there. I'm just glad that I can understand the way people walk, and to have empathy and sympathy for them and to help any way I can.
All right, Veronica, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Of course.
I wish you lots of luck from here on out.
Absolutely.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.